Video 5. Analyzing the UV-Vis absorption of a sample using the Spectronic 20D Plus Spectrophotometer. Topics covered in this video include a brief theory and overview of UV-visible light absorbance, the controls and setup of the spectrophotometer, how to blank the spectrophotometer, and finally, measuring the absorbance of a colored reaction sample. Topic 1. Theory and Overview. Welcome to a brief overview on the proper use of the Spectronic 20D Plus Spectrophotometer, seen before you. You will be using this device during multiple experiments within this laboratory course to measure the progress of a chemical reaction. As you might already know, a species can change color during the course of a reaction. This is the direct result of a change in the wavelength or amount of visible light absorbed by the compound. For the purposes of this laboratory course, you will be given a known wavelength of light that your compound absorbs. As your starting material is converted to a desired product, the absorbance or magnitude of light absorbed by your compound will change as the reaction proceeds to completion. You will be measuring these changes in specified time intervals to deduce information about the kinetics of the reaction. Topic 2. Controls and setup of the instrument. Begin by turning on the instrument by turning the power knob, located on the left side of the instrument, clockwise. This knob also doubles as the 0% transmission knob. Allow the spectrophotometer to warm up for at least 15 minutes. After the warm-up period, set the desired wavelength with the wavelength control knob located on top and to the right of the instrument. For the purposes of this video, we will be selecting 530 nanometers as our desired wavelength. Make sure that the wavelength range filter is set to the appropriate position. For our chosen wavelength of 530 nanometers, we will flip the switch located on the bottom of the instrument to the left, designating a range between 340 nanometers and 599 nanometers. Adjust the 0% transmittance control knob until the numbers located on the right of the display read 0. Some fine-tuning might be necessary due to the sensitive nature of these controls. Make sure that the transmittance reading does not fluctuate from 0. At this point in the experiment, also make sure that the sample compartment is empty and that the lid is completely shut. Set the display mode to absorbance by pressing the mode selector key until the appropriate indicator LED next to absorbance is lit. Topic 3. Blanking the spectrophotometer. We will now fill a cuvette with a blank solution. Blanking the spectrophotometer ensures that the instrument does not measure any light being absorbed by the solvent, rather than the compound of study by itself. In this case, we are using water. However, your blank solution can be any solvent that your analyte is dissolved in. Gently and thoroughly wipe your cuvette with a Kim wipe to remove any dust, fingerprints, or other particles that might interfere with your reading. You might have noticed that your cuvette has both an opaque facet and a transparent facet engraved with an arrow. Before taking any measurements, you will want to make sure that you insert your cuvette into the sample holder as shown, such that the clear side with the arrow is unobstructed and faces outward towards you. In this particular spectrophotometer, the light beam is emitted from the left side of the instrument. Therefore, we will insert our solution such that the clear side of the cuvette faces left and can be fully exposed to the incident light. Finish by closing the sample compartment. We will now achieve the final blanking of the spectrophotometer by turning the absorbance control knob, shown on the right side of the instrument, until the absorbance reads 0.00. Some fine-tuning might be necessary, and we should avoid as much fluctuation in the digits as possible. Conclude by removing your sample from the sample holder, and get ready to prepare your cuvette with the solution containing your analyte compound. Topic 4. Measuring the absorbance of a sample. Congratulations! It is now time to take the absorbance of a real sample. Begin by preparing a clean pipette and use it to carefully draw and transfer your sample solution to a clean and dry cuvette. A quick word of caution. The solvent level of the cuvette must be high enough for the incident light beam to strike the solution and for the spectrophotometer to then display a signal. Make sure that the cuvette is about 3/4 filled with your sample solution to ensure homogeneous exposure to the beam. However, be careful not to overfill, as the cuvette generally holds around 3 milliliters. We will repeat the same steps performed during the blanking of the spectrophotometer, once again wiping clean the outside of the cuvette to remove all dirt and impurities. This time, however, instead of turning the absorbance knob so that the display reads 0, we will simply observe and record the absorbance reading shown on the right side of the digital display. Please note, this absorbance reading is only accurate if its value is a positive decimal with a value less than or equal to 1.